And that sound can only mean one thing. It is time for another episode of the MLB Guardcast, brought to you by the Network 216. I am Mike Vorhies. With me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the extraordinary Bryan Shaw, and he's playing with a bobblehead. Bryan, what's happening, sir? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. We've had some news in the baseball world. We thought we should discuss it. And also, I think ahead of time, we should apologize if there's any weird audio issues. StreamYard has been giving us some trouble and changing sources on us at random.
Changing settings just because it feels like it. And so, yeah, we were trying to go live at 7, and StreamYard had other ideas. So it's 7:15, a little bit late. Oh, well, things happen. Bryan, big news broke yesterday that Mr. Luis Ortiz and Mr. Emmanuel Clase are now headed to the principal's office. They are in big trouble. And Luis Ortiz has been arrested and cooperating. However, Emmanuel Clase is still at large.
Yeah, the two of them have been indicted for basically rigging bets. I can read the list of charges, but it's just kind of a bunch of jargon. More or less, the MLB investigation into Ortiz and Clase has now become a federal investigation, and they've been federally indicted and could face up to 65 years in prison, the two of them. Now, I think we should add that this is independent of any decision by MLB. Both of them are claiming their innocence, of course, and
why would
will.
You say you were guilty?
Well, you would take a plea, but I think when you look at the indictment and what was done or what was alleged, MLB is going to ban them. I think the biggest one that I read in the indictment was all right, I guess we can back up. So if we back up just a smidge, when this was first had come out and it looked like that there was pitches from Ortiz and pitches from Clase that was allegedly had connections to a higher amount of betting, I had said, like, okay, well, that's circumstantial. You basically need a text, a phone call, a relationship to the winner. You would need, some sort of money exchange. You would need proof of all those things. They have it all. All those things happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane that these guys had these kind of communications. And not just that, but here's where I wanted to go with this was it happened in game in one instance. Before Clase entered the game, while the Guardians were playing, there was a text exchange with a guy that was in the stands, and then they made a bet. So I think it's safe to say.
I'm curious to wonder. I didn't think players were allowed to have their cell phones.
They are not
while they're playing. So, Mr. Clase, let me ask a question. You're gonna make a ton of money. The Guardians sign you to an extension. You're gonna make money. Why throw your career away for $12,000?
Yeah, it was very minimal amounts of money that the two of them allegedly made in this scheme. The bettors, the people who made the bets, supposedly made between like $400,000 and $450,000 over the course of the bets over 2 seasons. Ortiz is just this season. Clase is 23 and 25. There were no bets that showed up, at least according to the indictment. Now, I know a lot of people are jumping out. Well, did Clase throw the playoffs? Did he purposely lose against the Yankees? There are no bets or pitches in that series that are listed.
I can answer that. He just sucked against the Yankees.
I mean, that could very well be, but a lot of people are saying, like, what else did he do? Did he get paid off? And maybe he did. Maybe that's just not in text message or not part of this specific scheme, because that's the thing is all of this gets thrown in doubt at this point is, what all was he involved in? What all did he do? Because as you mentioned, they were paid a very minimal amount of money in comparison to their salaries. To you and I, 10 grand here, 10 grand there would be a big deal.
Yeah.
But to them, when you not necessarily Ortiz, but he still made $750,000 for one season of
Yep.
baseball.
About $800K for Ortiz.
But Clase, getting paid $6 million or whatever it was, and then had more millions to go, very minimal amounts. So really unfortunate.
It's sad. It's very frustrating. Obviously, Clase and Ortiz are going to face a ban. I mean, I don't see how they're going to get away with this. They're not. They're going to 65 years in prison. I saw.
Yeah, I mean that's if they're guilty on all those charges and things, but I'm sure that's just like a way to scare them into a plea deal or whatever. And I think regardless of any jail time, because the MLB hasn't made a decision yet, you are going to end up in a situation where there's enough evidence from what we know to just ban them, and they will be off the Guardians roster and off the Guardians payroll, which is an important distinction because we had to pay them last year. Now that won't be the case, I'm sure. And the Guardians can move on. But now I think, more things are clear. First off, it was obvious that we as fans were left in the dark about this. I'm sure the MLB knew that there was federal investigation going on. I'm sure other people were interviewed. Like, you can't tell me that, members of the Guardians organization weren't interviewed and asked about like text messages and those kinds of things. So I'm sure that they knew what was going on, and now it makes more sense about the distractions and,
I think
clearing out the lockers.
We need to tip the cap to the Guardians, because if the players knew that this was going on and they still fought the way that they did and made it into this, like they fought their asses off to get into the playoffs and to make a little bit of noise, even though we ultimately fell short. I mean, that's kudos to them. Knowing this was coming, they could have easily just rolled over and died and said, Detroit, you can take it. We'll just sit here. We're going to stick our tail between our legs and we're going to go home. And they didn't. They fought. They made it into the postseason. So kudos. Stephen Vogt did what he could. You lose your closer. You lose a guy who you thought was going to be a very reliable starter. And you're forced to kind of play mix and match, which we had to this year. And now we won't have to worry about either one of them because they're going to get banned from baseball. So hopefully it was worth it for them. I'm a very bitter fan when this news broke. I'm really glad that we did not record yesterday because it would have been a completely different attitude for me. Like, if they want to be selfish and throw their careers away to play a game that you're supposed to love and you get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, it's sad that they were that selfish. So good riddance.
Well,
I mean,
and also selfish from the standpoint of like Clase was an asset of the team in terms of like, you could have traded him this offseason, or you could have traded him during the trade deadline.
Stole him from Texas. We stole him from the Texas Rangers.
And same thing with like Luis Ortiz. You traded Andrés Giménez for him, and I've expressed my feelings a lot about Andrés Giménez, but you've basically, I think we have a minor leaguer left from that trade right now. But there were other guys impacted. When Ortiz got suspended, they had to bring in another pitcher, and so Colby Allard got cut because of that. Mm-hmm. So there was other guys impacted, not just, in terms of what happened with the team and the distractions and all those things. So I guess on a lighter note, and we can, move on to that and put it. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. I was going to do this.
Oh, live on air. Emmanuel Clase just broke his neck. Oh, that's awful. And in the trash it goes. Bye, Emmanuel Clase. Good riddance. I mean, I think that's a wonderful segue to we said goodbye to some Guardians. The team made some roster moves aside from Ortiz and Clase. We said goodbye to Colby Allard. You already had mentioned his name, but yet again, for like what seems like the 15th time this season, Colby Allard has been he chose free agency. He was taken off the 40-man roster, and he refused his outright assignment to AAA and said, "You know what? I'd rather test the free agent waters." Who else has gone, Brian?
Well, hang on. I should have looked.
I had the list. I took the list away. Let me get it back. I got it. Hold on. I got it. Let's see here. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. All right, where'd they go? This is awful. Thanks for waiting, guys. Stand by. It's not in our Twitter. Is it in the chat? It must be. I have so many things open and trying to figure out. All right. Matt Crook, left-handed pitcher that the Guardians picked up off of waivers earlier in the year from the Oakland A's. Just the A's and then the Yankees. He didn't pitch for us at the major league level. He's gone. A big one here, Ben Lively, who my eyebrows rose there. He was sent to AAA and then said, "No, I'm not going to AAA. I'm out. See ya."
Well,
I think he did get injured. Is he eligible to is he going to be out for most of 26 or for half of 26?
So that does sound like that's the case because Lively is a little bit older. Keep in mind, both Allard and Lively were arbitration eligible. So basically, the Guardians decided, they needed to free up some 40-man spots for the upcoming Rule 5 protection, which will be in the early part of December. And so they needed to free up some space. And so Lively and Allard were two guys that they cut ahead of having to give arbitration deals. Now, we could see some more of those. For example, Nolan Jones is arbitration eligible, Sam Henches, David Fry, Matt Festa still on the team, and Will Brennan. They are here for now. If they need more roster spots, those guys could be non-tendered. Now, I was surprised that Festa was kept over Allard. I would have done it the other way because
we had discussed this a little bit in our chat thread. I wonder if Allard is thinking he can go be a starter somewhere, and I think that's what he's looking for.
Well, regardless of what he's looking for, you had control. You had him under contract. You could have just given him his arbitration and given him $1.5 million or whatever, because it is reported that the Guardians do want to bring him back.
He didn't want to play for a team that allowed Ortiz and Clase to be boneheads. Maybe.
That could be.
Maybe he wanted to go elsewhere and didn't want to.
But it does sound like
we got to talk about the big one, and that's John Means, who didn't even pitch for us at the major league level. We signed him. He did all of his rehab here, made starts at Lake Erie, made starts at Akron, made starts at Columbus, and then declines his option.
We declined his option.
Yes, Cleveland declined his option, and he is now a free agent. That was a shock.
He's another one that allegedly they want to bring back. I think it's twofold. One, if you look at the reports of what his velocity was in minor league, he's slow to recover from his Tommy John. His fastball was in the around 90 point something, so not great.
Well, and he was never.
And so then you have to ask yourself, sure, but then you have to ask yourself, is that worth $7.5 million or $6 million or whatever his option was? And can you bring him back on, a minor league invite to spring training depth deal, or sign him for like $2 or $3 million instead? Or does he want to continue his rehab with Cleveland? Same thing with Ben Lively. I would imagine Ben Lively will want to continue his Tommy John rehab here with Cleveland. So those guys may be back. This could just be procedural, and the Guardians didn't want to give them those salaries. But we do have projections for the other guys, and it's rather minimal. Like Nolan Jones is projected to get $2 million, Sam 1.3, David Fry 1.2, Festa 1, and then Will Brennan 900,000. So yes, as you mentioned, some of those guys could be gone. So with that, I'd like to talk about what we have in terms of money available. And I know this stirs up people and they're gonna say things and whatever, but we can still
Hold on,
actually
but
talk
before
and
we
have
get that out of before we get before, I'll discuss that in a second. Our contract is up as well, right? They have not re-signed us yet either. The Guardians, they haven't re-signed you or me, correct? I haven't seen my new contract yet.
Yeah, sure.
If we're saving a little bit of money, I'm just saying, you and I haven't been given our deals yet, so potentially we could be free agents as well. I'm just saying. And for those that want to be idiotic and throw out about our owner and how cheap he is and how he doesn't open his checkbook and yada 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 and this, that, and the other, just shut up. Keep scrolling.
Yeah, I mean it's not a helpful.
It's dead issue. Yeah, doesn't
right.
help anything.
We've heard
we
it.
Know.
It's been talked about.
We know. Right.
But so with if they keep the current arbitration players, the ones that we mentioned with the the projections, their current active payroll would be at about 62 million. And last season they spent at around $40 million in free agents. When you add up all the guys. Now, did any of those guys produce anything? Not really, outside of Jacob Junis. It was a lot of money wasted. So I think they have another about 30 to 40 million to spend this offseason. And this is also going to probably be partially, there is the potential that there is more available if you believe what the team says, and that money in is money out. And again, don't want to get into it, but there is the potential that the team got a pay bump from the streaming. So we had talked with Jim Rosen with Rosie earlier in the season how that pay structure is going to be different. They didn't have guaranteed money known coming in, that some of that was going to basically be part of next year because they didn't know how much money they were going to make with the streaming services. So if you got a streaming subscription outside of cable, then that was extra revenue for the team. So that could be added. Plus, we are changing TV providers again this year. Again, ESPN is picking up all of the teams that were homeless from the Bally deal and were on their own. ESPN is picking those up. That deal is not finalized yet. We don't know how much they're going to make. We didn't know how much they made last year because MLB negotiated that. And if you all remember, it came down to the very last minute with who had the distribution rights. But so with all that,
hold on really quick though. Does that mean that Guardians TV then is a thing of the past? It won't be back next year?
Will it be called it? Maybe. It might be called, now I think the streaming will still be at Guardians TV, but we might have a new channel called like ESPN Great Lakes.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Or something like that. Like it might be called ESPN Great Lakes, where then that's where the Guardians are.
ESPN's got to do something. They signed that huge deal with the WWE, and they're taking on water. So of course the baseball won't be as bad as what WWE has become for them. So that's okay. Yeah, we'll make sure they get some revenue.
So there is that deal. So I had, like I said, there is the potential for more, but we're going to work off of the thought that we have about 40 million to spend and free agents. So we had talked about some free agents at the end of the season. There was a few guys that we said that we had wanted and would have thought would be good. Unfortunately, some of those guys had gotten qualifying offers. And what a qualifying offer is it's basically kind of a way for it's a way for MLB to kind of keep competitive balance, where if you give this guy a qualifying offer, it's like it's almost like a franchise tag. It's the averages of those players of the salaries, and then that's what they would get paid if they stay with the team. But then if they go to a different team, that team that offered the qualifying offer would get a draft pick. So that was discussed with Shane Bieber. You know, if we had kept Shane Bieber and not traded him, he would get a qualifying offer, and we could get a draft pick. But the problem is that anybody who signs those players are also going to have to give up a draft pick. And so anybody who got a qualifying offer, Guardians are going to give up a 3rd round pick because that's what it would be. And basically the one that applies to for the Guardians would be Trent Grisham.
Yeah, that stung a little bit. So we got 2 people that have a couple questions here. Can we get a power bat?
Well, that's where we're getting to. That's where we're getting to.
Or a semi-power bat.
Yeah, that's where we're getting to.
A wiffle bat.
Well, I mean,
get something. We'll get there. Trent Grisham, that one stung a little bit because I thought he would be a pretty decent fit. I know a lot of people thought Kyle Schwarber. He got a qualifying offer as well. Did he not?
He did.
Yeah, so he's not coming to Cleveland.
You can take him off the table. And so part of that then too is when I was doing this research, I eliminated anybody that's going to get over a 3-year deal because Cleveland hasn't signed anybody to a 4-year deal or greater that was a free agent since Michael Bourne and Nick Swisher. So it's been that long.
How'd those work out?
Well, they didn't work out good, but that was the last time that we had a 4-year contracts for the Guardians. So eliminate those guys. But I have some players that I think they will target, and I think that this list of guys, if they end up moving on to different teams, is a lot better than the free agent list last year because we had also talked about that okay, yelling about getting a power bat. Edwin was a 3-year deal. Edwin was 3 years for $60 million, and then we traded him after 2.
Yep.
So
he did this.
Yeah, and wasn't quite worth $20 million after that. And then Josh Bell was a 2-year deal.
Zunino
Yonder Alonso was a 2-year deal. Bieber was a 1 with a 1 option, so on and so forth. Yep. So that's probably what they're looking at is a 1-1 or something like that, or a 2-year deal, one that they could also trade if they needed to, like Josh Bell.
Right.
So the list of guys that I had as probably in their price range, because they did give Carlos Santana $12 million, they did give Shane Bieber $15 million, so they're comfortable paying in that range. And this is in order of, I guess, expensive.
Okay.
The top one that we mentioned last time.
You're freezing a bit. You're freezing.
We back?
Just a tad. Yep, you're back. Go ahead. Start over. I think you keep freezing. Internet is a beautiful thing sometimes.
Okay.
There you are. You're back.
How about now? We better?
You're good.
Okay.
We can hear
you
now.
The suspense now because we had the pause.
I know, right? There you go.
So the first one in order of, like I said, in order of expense was Luis Ariz, and we had talked about him. Now, I don't know. I'd be interested to see if they actually go after anybody who's a left-handed hitter, because I think most of the guys that we should be looking at would be righties, and that's where we've really struggled. And I think there are some quality players that hits.
Oh, Ariz would look really, really nice in this lineup. Hitting number 2. Oh, he would look really nice. Kwan, Ariz, Jose Ramirez, man, those top 3 would be really good. That'd be nice. I would take it.
Yeah. The next one is Harrison Bader at $12 million. So he's projected to get about a 2-year.
I've heard his name. He's gained some traction as of late to Cleveland, and I know he's known defensively. He's very good defensively. Not too high. I don't know his offensive stats.
Well, he had a really good year last year. He had an 824 OPS. That would have been.
Well, he can play center field. That's fine.
Well, So, and that would be the thing is he would be basically your everyday center fielder. You got to hope that he builds off a career year and continues that and doesn't go back to how he was. Then also, if you look at some of his advanced metrics, they don't necessarily match that production. So there's a concern of, was it a lucky year like Nolan Jones in Colorado? And also, some people have expressed concern about the personality and is that a fit for the Cleveland clubhouse? Okay.
Yeah, very true.
The next one on the list would be another lefty and kind of more of an everyday guy is Ryan O'Hearn. $12 million.
I don't know. Again, I when I hear these names, they're not. We need to protect Jose. So can O'Hearn be that guy? I don't think so. But does he sound like a player that the Guardians would sign? Sure. He's a lefty. Yeah. He's got some good pop. He's a DH mostly.
17 home runs last year, a 2.4 WAR, and
did he play the field or was he mostly a DH?
Well, I can give you his. I believe he played all around.
DH. Okay.
He had 71 games at first base, 20 games in right field, and then 50 games as a DH.
Okay, so he kind of fits the same. He kind of fits the same mold as a Kefis or a Manzardo.
Yeah.
Aaron's got a great point, but aren't those the players that we have to take a swing at and pray they keep it up?
Yes, basically. Yes.
That's what we do as the Guardians now. We look for reclamation projects, I think.
Well, Bader is not a reclamation project.
No, but I've heard some things about Bader, like his demeanor and his attitude may not be a great fit for the Guardians clubhouse.
Well, that's what I said. And so O'Hearn had an 800 OPS, and let's keep in mind, like, the two guys that we just mentioned had OPSs in the 800s. That would have been like second or third on the team. That's how bad this team was at hitting. So, but then there's another. It's funny. I keep going into the lefties where I had mentioned that it was righties. I get Max Kepler is an option at $7 million. You are very unimpressed with this list.
I don't like Max Kepler. I'm not a fan.
And then
he'd be the guy. He'd be the kind of guy that the Guardians signed. That's the thing.
Well, they allegedly they tried to sign him last year, right?
Yeah.
He was on the list. All right. Let me give you some guys that
we need some righties.
Right. Okay, here's the righties list.
Okay.
Austin Hayes.
Outfielder. See, he's the kind of guy that would fit this team. He can play right, left, center. He's got a little bit of some speed.
And only projected to make $7 million.
Sorry. If they can hit, does it really matter if it's left or right? No, not really.
Well, in the other cases of those guys,
as long as they can hit both righties and lefties, I guess.
Well, and in this case, with the right-handed hitters, these guys are going to be lefty mashers. Austin Hayes had a 9.
I agree. I do hate this right and left stuff too. I do.
Okay, but you won't when you hear this because this is relevant. A 949 OPS versus lefties for Austin Hayes.
Yeah, I would take that.
All right, and only projected to make $7 million.
What did he hit home runs? He only hit what, like 12 though?
Yeah, it wasn't a ton.
He's not a big pop bat type. He's a more contact hitter.
Okay, how about Miguel Andujar?
He's one of those people, man. He resurrected his career with the A's. And I am befuddled. Yes, I would take him. He can hit.
At only $5 million, and a guy that hits 986 OPS versus lefties last season. Does that sound interesting to you?
Yes, I would take that.
How about Rob Refsnyder? He hit 959
Yeah, he's
OPS
one of
versus lefties
those
last
that
season.
he's a utility guy. He plays all over the diamond, so again fits the Guardians criteria. I mean, if he can hit, I'm all for it.
All right, and then one more lefty that I thought would be an interesting signing, and then this is again kind of falls under your Kafis and the
But
O'Hearn.
here's the thing: if they play first base, that's okay because Kafis can go
Kafis
into the
plays right
outfield
field.
as well.
Yep.
Right. Manzardo cannot play the outfield, and Manzardo's, I think, going to be strictly a DH for us. I really
How about
do.
Rhys Hoskins?
Now, is this healthy Rhys Hoskins who can give me 30 to 40
750
home
OPS?
runs? Yeah, who can give me 30 to 40 home runs a year? Slide him in the lineup. Yes, please.
Okay. And then the last one, Willie Castro, a 752 OPS versus lefties.
Now, Willie Castro is an interesting one because sorry, going through these names reminds me of Major League. Who are these guys? Jared, you got to watch baseball. If you know baseball, then you kind of know who these people are. Willie Castro played for the Twins for a while. He's played for the Tigers.
So did Kepler.
Kepler did as well. I mean, Castro's one of those guys, though. He hits everywhere he goes, and he can play center field. He can play second base. He can play he's one of those utility guys. Great club guy. I've heard that he is a very great teammate. So the list makes sense. Now, it's a matter of how much money do the Guardians want to spend.
Well, here's the thing is, with what those guys are projected, there's room to sign two of them. There, you don't have to have just get
my pick isn't on that list.
Okay.
I want Marcell Ozuna. I want the big bopper. I want a guy in this lineup that we can slide in to that 4 spot in the lineup, that cleanup spot, and know that he is going to hit between 240 and 250, and he's going to hit 30 to 40 plus home runs, and he's going to be close to 100 RBIs. That's what I'm looking for.
But here's the thing: is Ozuna still that guy?
I don't know,
because he hit 21 home runs last. He was not last year. So is he Josh Bell? Is he a guy that's gonna be terrible for you and you give him a lot of money?
This game is a game of chance. Yes. What are they projecting Ozuna at? Probably
I think
more
12
than
million.
what the Guardians. Yeah, 12 million might be a little much. Now,
well, because he is older. Would you? So who would you rather give? Well, hang on a sec. Who would you rather give 12 million to? Harrison Bader or Marcell Ozuna? Because they're both projected to get the same.
Bader because of his defense. Bader because of his defense, and he can run.
Or would you rather pay an extra $2 million and get Luis Ariz?
I would like. So here's the two that I want off that list. Right? Okay. I'll give you my top 3. I will take Rhys Hoskins if he's healthy.
Okay.
I would take Rhys Hoskins if he's going to be healthy. I'll take him in our lineup. Now, I would take Luis Ariz as my second pick because I know he can hit like 300 all season long, and he could be in that 2-hole, and he could protect Jose a little bit. But if we can't get Ariz, I'm okay with getting a player like Harrison Bader or a Willie Castro because they play great defense and they get on base.
Yeah.
So there's 4 guys that we could, and we don't know what this team could do. They could go out and make another couple of trades and be like, oh, well, we didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Taylor Ward's name has been brought up.
Joe Adele as well. Josh Naylor his name's been thrown around that the Guardians may entertain signing him. And here's the thing. I have a feeling the city would mutiny not saying that Josh is a bad player, but why in the world would we trade him if we were just going to sign him again? That to me doesn't make sense.
Well, because you got a pitcher in return.
We did, but can we afford Josh Naylor? I mean, Naylor's going to get some money this year.
Naylor's probably going to get I'd say 4 years, 75 million, something like that. And so
I
I think
was
it's more
thinking
the
4
years.
years,
And I
80.
and they were worried about his health and all those things. And
Yeah.
and then I had his name and then I just blanked. Outfielder for the Red Sox. Jaron Duran is another one that's come up.
I've heard his name, but I have heard that the Dodgers are all over him too.
Maybe.
So if we get
So
into a
there are
pissing
guys on the
contest with the
trade, but
Dodgers,
the
we won't win.
unfortunate thing about trying to speculate on trade is you don't know if they're going to be available. You don't know what that other team is looking for in
Right.
terms of getting. These were 6 to 7 to 8 guys that are in the Guardians range that all were better than the players you had on the team. That was the thing is these guys were all positive WAR and they were all hitters last season than what we had at our positions.
Yeah. Makes
and then
sense. It makes sense
especially against lefties, which
Yeah.
they struggled against. And, with Lane Thomas being injured pretty much the entire season, you were hoping that he would be there for against lefties. David Fry ended up hurt for most of the season. He's another guy that you would expect to do well versus lefties. So if you had a couple of, if you grabbed a lefty specialist and an everyday player, I think that really does lengthen the lineup out of that. And then,
they
as
were
we
hoping
talked
Lane
about,
Thomas was going to be that guy to be
yes,
that lefty specialist, and unfortunately, injuries derailed his career.
and I
hopefully
think they
he's
could
able
bring
to
him
bounce
back because at this point, with how last season went, he's a free agent. They could probably bring him back on $2 million. Now, the thing about Lane, and as much as I love the guy, they need to play him properly and play him not every day in center field. Have him play in right field versus lefties, and watch him flourish. And I know
Right.
Jared was talking about how he hates the righty lefty, switch hitting. In some of these guys' cases that I mentioned, that's their bread and butter. If you're hitting a 900 OPS versus lefties and then a 600 OPS versus righties, then that's who that's who you should be facing. But there's a couple of guys that are more everyday players, Hoskins, Bader, that you could play both sides. You could play them every day and not have to platoon them. So like I said, I think that there is room, given what we mentioned with what the salary is, with Clase A's salary gone, with not giving John Means his contract, because you do probably need some bullpen help as well. And you can sign 2 of those guys and it would get, like, if you did Andujar and Bader, that's only 17 million. So you would still have like another 10, 20 million to then also get bullpen help.
Right. Because you're going to need somebody.
So that's not, that's not breaking the bank. Even on the
Brian, I had a
end,
question. We're talking about releases, arbitration, free agents. There are some Japanese stars that are being posted they are available to leave the Japan league and come to the United States and play in the major leagues. There's some of those guys. Obviously, I know there's like a posting fee and there's like a lot of money that's involved when it comes to these Japanese players. Now, I know Murakami because I've played MLB The Show and I know what that guy's all about, and he can hit on the game really well. Not sure what he does in real life. I know last year he was injured and didn't play a lot, but I know that he's got a lot of power. Is he a guy that we could potentially shock the world and get?
I mean, I think that'd be great. The Dodgers can only sign so many of these guys. Keep in mind, this also is part of your international signing bonus money, your pool.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that Toronto, that's the reason they took on Miles Straw, was because we gave them some of our extra international bonus pool money because they were trying to make a signing. So
Sagano or whatever his name was, and they missed out on him.
So and then they ended up missing out on him. So that's the only reason I would say maybe not, is because they've done really well in pulling guys, signing guys like that when they're young, because then, you can spread it out with the international bonus pool and that's part of their team's development. The same reason why I don't think that they would give up a 3rd round pick for anybody with a qualifying offer is because that's how they maintain building their roster. Now you could say that they don't do anything great when it comes to hitting with those players. Hopefully that changes with some of the younger players that are coming up. And we're finally seeing, we're finally seeing DeLauder. We're finally seeing those guys come up. And keep in mind, Pizzana is going to be a part of that group and of the upcoming. But hopefully, that's the thing is and I've discussed this at length, is that it with all the guys that were currently on the team, if they had actually developed, if they had developed into hitters, if we weren't screaming about Gabriel Arias and how bad he's been, if Brian Rocchio was a bit better, if Andres Jimenez had continued to be the player that he was in 2022, we're not yelling about cheapness and they won't sign free agents. Their hitting development has been atrocious and they need to figure that out. I guess one thing that we probably should have brought up too, but it got lost in all the shuffle, is we're a couple of coaches short right now too.
We are. Craig Albernez, the bench coach for the Guardians, former bench coach, is now the manager of the Baltimore Orioles. And Kai Correa has left to join the New York Mets.
Yes, and the speculation is that the Mets are going to fire their manager and he will become interim manager. So that is good news that, some of our guys are getting managerial roles. And Albernaz, we had interviewed prior to hiring Vogt, and then they were able to bring him in as the bench coach. So there's a couple of open positions, and we'll see what they do there. But I hope the Guardians took a really good internal look at themselves and look to figure out why their hitting development has struggled as much as it has. And this also applies to Stephen Kwan. This is his 2nd season now that it was below average in hitting. And you can't have that out of your leadoff hitter. He's got to be better. And so
that's another reason why somebody like Luis Ariz would be good, because you could take some of the pressure off of Stephen Kwan and maybe put Ariz as your leadoff hitter, and then you could have Stephen Kwan hit second.
Yeah,
and then he's not struggling. So there are options. Harrison Bader could lead off if need be. I don't think he's let off a ton, but it's an option.
Yeah. And like I said, I think of that list that we gave, there is room for 2 of them. If one is a lefty specialist, like if you went with Hayes and Ariz mostly playing infield, and then Hayes mostly right field or outfield as a lefty specialist, that would end up being about $21 million for this season, which then you still have 10 to 15 million more to get some bullpen help. So there's room there with not signing Means, Bieber being off the books, Clase now eventually going to be off the books. Santana's salary is not there. So even with the raises and the arbitration raises that some of these players are going to get, you had a lot of useless salary on the roster. And the same thing applied to the previous year. I'm blanking on his name at the moment, but we were paying, because of Josh Bell.
Juan Segura?
Yes, thank you. We were paying him a ton of money. Did not play.
$14 million, and he didn't even play here.
Yeah. When I was looking at some of these numbers this morning, I guess something to keep in mind is that the active roster for the team that was playing in the playoffs only equated to about 40-something million. So that's how much useless pay and money was being put out the door. So that's the other part of this, is that I wonder sometimes why Antonetti and Chernoff and the front office don't get as much of that grief or that frustration. It's just Dolan's cheap. Okay, well, but when you do spend, you've wasted that money. When you have spent on players, you have wasted that money. Um,
Right.
the best players that have performed for you have been guys on like minor league deals that then make the team, or guys with at 4 million. Like Austin Jackson, had an incredible year, and I think he was a minor league invite. You strike lightning in a bottle. We mentioned Ben Lively, like he was signed for the minimum initially, coming out of Korea or wherever he had played for a little while. So that's where they've done their best. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't spend on these guys and they shouldn't do more here, but the point is that if you used 15 million on Bieber or 12 million or whatever it was, you used 12 million on Santana, 8 million on Seawald. That's that's a lot of money of guys that barely contributed for you.
Right, exactly. Seawald's a free agent anyway. The Tigers declined his option, and
Yes, no surprise.
he's a free agent as well. Not that the Guardians are going to sign him again, but
I would like to see them bring back Junis.
I think Junis would be a good re-sign. Let's see. I mean, it is what it is. But we've covered the main things. Clase and Ortiz, they're done. I just boneheaded moves. We've talked about the guys that are no longer with the Guardians. We've got arbitration. We talked about our free agents, and who knows? A lot could happen between now and our next episode. We weren't prepared to record this one until the news broke yesterday. So
the big dates is we'll have some 40-man protection. So some guys added to the 40-man roster because the Rule 5 draft is coming up at the beginning of December. That's also when the winter meetings are. And I put together a list of all the free agent signings and trades that have happened. And Antonetti usually does wait until around the winter meetings, if not later. For example, Edwin was pretty late in free agency. I think he was in February. So just because that they don't, jump on guys right away doesn't mean they're not going to do something. But there is a lot of action in the early part of December at the winter meetings, or at least that's when Antonetti usually starts to get going on things. So we probably have a few weeks before there is any movement, even though free agency is open. And also, I think something to keep in mind is how players and teams are going to operate with the more likelihood that we are going to have a lockout in 2027, at least for part of the season. Yeah. I'm of the belief that would Kyle Schwarber sign a 1-year deal knowing that there's probably more earning potential after the lockout, after the new collective bargaining agreement, because the players union is probably going to negotiate something that is going to get these players more money, because there's going to be a give and take. So would Schwarber, or would some of these other guys that we've talked about that are, 4 or 5 year projected contracts, would they hold out temporarily to make more money on the back end? Or are they just going to get such a huge contract that it doesn't matter?
Yeah. We had Jared asked, do you think some youngsters starting the beginning of the year, DeLauder, Banana, LOL? Bazana, I assume, is who he meant, not Banana, but I get it. I get what he's saying. DeLauder, I think so. I think it's going to depend on if they have a pretty solid spring. I think we know that DeLauder's probably going to be here, and I think if Travis can stay healthy, I think he's your starting second baseman. He wasn't the number 1 draft pick for nothing.
I think they'll wait 2 months on Bazana. I think we'll have somebody else starting at second base, at least temporarily. But don't forget George Valera. I think he's another one that will start with the team. So yeah, there will be guys. Yeah, and Jared, I think to your next question, are they happy with the starting rotation? I think so. I think that's part of why they declined John Means' option. You had 6 guys that were really strong for you at the end of last season. You had a 6-man rotation, and hopefully those guys continue to build on that. Plus, you have Cal Steven, who you did get for Shane Bieber.
Is it Cal or is it Kale?
I think it's Cal.
Perfect. The flamethrower. that we got for Bieber. Yes.
Yes.
He may
I
be
think
here
he
soon.
would be another one that would be part of the rotation at some point during the season, maybe not right away. But yeah, I think the 6-man rotation that you had at the end of the season allowed them to decline John Means' option, because that ended up being why you made the September push that you did. Without those guys having such strong outings throughout September, you're not making that huge push. Another great question: who's the ace to start this season?
Oh,
Mike,
I missed that.
Mike, do you
Last
have
who's the ace? Who's the ace in your opinion? Okay, well, he wasn't our ace. He wasn't the guy I thought was going to be our ace. It's not Tanner Bybee, folks. It is the big rig. It is Gavin Williams. He has proven himself. Had some amazing starts down the stretch, and I think that Gavin, Big Rig Williams, is your number one. I think Bybee slides in at number 2. I think Messick could be your 3. Who am I missing?
Logan Allen?
Logan Allen's my 5. Who's my 4 now? Who would that be? Who am I missing? Oh, my goodness. I'm trying to go back through and think of all of our pitchers that we had last year. Oh, wow. I'm embarrassed. I should know this. It's not Tristan
Cantillo.
Yes, it's Mr. Cantillo. He should be number 4. There you go. There's my starting 5. Do I like it? Sure. I think it's doable. They had great seasons. Can they duplicate it? I don't know. Do I think there could be some guys down at AAA that might try to make their way? Maybe. Could there be some trades in the works? Maybe.
Don't forget Slade.
6-man rotation to start the year. Got it. Or now that Kobe Allard's gone, does Logan Allen then slide into that long relief role?
Yes. Possibly. But then
Cantolo.
There's also
I love you, Jared. Jared's trying. He says Cantolo. Close. Cantillo. Close.
There's also could we see Daniel Espino move into a late? Yeah. The name somebody we haven't talked about for like 4 years.
He doesn't play for us anymore, does he? Oh wait, he's been injured all the time. That's right.
But
he's a possibility.
Had a very strong.
Trevor Steffen comes back.
Yes, Trevor Steffen comes back.
Henches. Oh no.
Sam comes back.
Now he took it too far. Now I feel bad. Fat thumbs and a pinched nerve. And auto. Yeah. See, I get it. Jared, we're having fun with you, buddy. It's all good. Love you, bro.
So Espino had a really strong Arizona Fall League, and his velocity is up there. And given now that you have an opening at the back end of the bullpen, and it's not. And stop telling me it's going to be Cade Smith. It's not. Cade Smith is not built that way. He is a setup guy. Yeah, it might have to be Cade to start though. Nope. I don't think you're just going to call.
We're going to spend money. We're going to spend money and get a closer.
Oh, you think so?
I do. I think we're going to spend a little bit of money, and we can talk about that on our next episode.
How about the guy that the Rays just let go?
Peter Fairbanks. He's pretty good. At least I thought he was.
He had a 2-something ERA last season.
Come to Cleveland, baby. We'll take you. He knows how to close games. Why not? We're going to need a little bit of help at the back end of that bullpen, just until Cade's ready to take the reins. I'm okay with getting him some help, just so he has something. Because I don't want 7, 8, 9, 10 blown saves. No, thank you. We're not doing that. My heart can't take it. We need to close games. I get blowing 1 or 2 or 5, but no more than that.
All right. Well, I think the next time we'll talk is probably going to be sometime in mid-December when some of these hopefully signings or trades do start coming in, and we'll talk about it then. Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Find us on social media. I'm at Mike Vorhies on Facebook and Twitter. Brian, where can they find you and us?
I am at WXSHAW on Twitter, Weathershaw. Bryan Shaw on Facebook. We are Guardcast MLB on Twitter, MLB Guardcast on Facebook. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube. and we are part of the Network 216. Jared, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate the questions and guiding us along on talking about this. And Mike, I'm glad that we were able to move on from the down part of the or early part of this.
We got the bad news out of the way. We had some fun to end the show. That's the way it needs to be. Start low, end high. Perfect. I'm all for it. We'll talk to you guys very soon once the Guardians make some more news, or who knows, a big trade could come, or major news, just like that broke yesterday regarding our two former pitchers who are now blackballed from Major League Baseball. But that's okay. We won't talk about them anymore. Signing off. Until next time, folks, be kind, rewind, do all those fun things, and we will see you very, very soon. Until then, ta-ta for now.